Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric with American Business Systems. I want to welcome you here to our webinar this afternoon. Thank you. You've got a great house so far of attendees. And obviously, we're going to talk today about our topic. Our topic is return on investment with only one doctor. We're going to do a breakdown. If there are some of you looking at different franchises, different business opportunities, we're going to look at one in particular today and do a comparison of the cost and what your return is. Obviously, we're just there's so many different ones that you can look at, but we want to look at today again what you can get from us or through yourself as you're doing you're growing your business, and what the return is with really just with one doctor. I mean, if you think about it, getting your entire return on your investment with just one doctor within the first year is pretty incredible. So we will hopefully be able to break that down for you this afternoon. Today, Patrick Phillips is actually going to be able to join us. He has taken some time off, and some good time off that he's needed over the last few weeks. And it's going to be great to have him here today. But let me introduce to you, if you've never met Patrick, he is an author, he's a writer, he is obviously a motivational speaker. But then obviously he does a lot with entrepreneurs. One of the things that he actually does very interesting is with this magazine. It's called the Billing and Coding Advantage magazine. This is not an ABS licensee or an ABS magazine. This is a magazine that is nationwide, and a lot of times he is a featured writer in this magazine. He's written several books here. The newest one, The New Thriving Medical Practice. He's actually working on a new one with Dr. Vicki Ratner. You see her name right there at the very bottom. And what will be interesting is if you're really doing your due diligence, you're going to want to join our webinar next Wednesday. We're actually going to be interviewing Dr. Ratner. So that'll be a great webinar for you to attend. So let me get Patrick on over here. Patrick, it's good to have you back right where you need to be, right here on the webinars today.
Yeah, hey, I've missed it. I know that you share a lot of good things. Of course, Adam, the president of the company, is also on these webinars. But hey, let's face it, I'm the guy.
Yeah, you're the guy.
Well, this is a very interesting topic today because, guys, if you're looking into a business opportunity, like Eric said earlier, this is a great one to compare with some of the other opportunities that are out there. And we're going to get right down to the nitty gritty and compare this with the Subway franchise. That's the big one out there.
Yeah, you bet. Well, let's kind of talk about what it means, first of all, Patrick, what it means a return on investment.
Yeah, an ROI. You hear that term all the time, and all it means, folks, is that whatever you invest, you see on the left side there, whatever it is that you invest in a business, you want to get a return on that investment as quickly as possible. And whatever it is that you've invested, whether it's $10,000 or $1 million, you want to get that back ASAP. And so that's what an ROI is all about. It's getting that money back that you put into the business. So you're going to see today how quickly you can do that with this business.
You bet. Now, folks, let me also remind you before we get way deep in the webinar, most of you have typed in where your city and state, where you're located, but don't just use that question box just for that. We really do want to hear some of your questions. We're going to do our best to monitor that as we go through the webinar. I'll also say this, a lot of times we get a ton of questions and we can't get to every single one of them. So know that if you type in a question, it won't get lost. We will pass that on to the business coach that you're working here at ABS, and then they'll be able to call you, set up a time, go through those questions. And so be sure to type in your questions as we go through here. All right, so let's talk about, again, what we're dealing here. We've got this ROI, return on investment, and we've kind of broken it down into three sections here. The first part is the investment. The second part is the return. So that's just kind of that break even. But Patrick, we want to even go further is what does it look like success? When does success play into a return on investment?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people don't realize it, but the success that when people say, for example, well, what kind of success rate do your licensees have? That's a tough one to answer, Eric, because everybody defines success differently. Some of our licensees are thrilled to be working out of their spare bedroom part-time at this, having just a handful of doctors. And then we've got some who've opened up offices, hired staff. They've got people, some of them have multiple offices and dozens of doctors, some of them over 100 doctors. So you can build this as big or keep it as small as you want to, but the success is based on, the time and effort that you put into anything.
So what we're going to start off with, Patrick's already mentioned to you, we're going to start off with a Subway sandwich. And I think you like to kind of talk about that because whenever you got started on the medical billing side, I believe that you had a good friend of yours that was actually starting some Subway sandwiches.
That's right. And when he opened it up, I guess he didn't do a whole lot of research on it because he said he wanted to make 6 figures. Well, he found out real fast, as we'll see here in just a second, that Subways cost a lot of money, first of all, to get going. From their website, and we've got the little link down there, which, Eric, we want to tell them about the handouts maybe, so they'll know that they could see that link themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. In your go-to webinar control panel, should probably just right underneath where it says questions, you'll see that we have a PDF of this entire slide decks, and you can download that right now. And so what Patrick was referring to was that link that's there at the bottom. So if you later want to go to that without you having to write that down right now, you can have that on the PDF and you can download that at any time during the webinar. But that's for your copy. I don't know, many people, even with that are doing their webinars, Patrick, that actually give a copy of the slides that they're talking about. So again, that's our gift to you as we're going through this webinar today.
Yeah, because if you have a friend or a spouse or a partner that was not able to be on the webinar today, first of all, we do record these and you'll get an email telling you about the recording, but we also give that handout so that you can share that with them too. So back to the slide here. This is what you can invest in opening up a Subway. Now that includes their franchise fee. It includes all the things that they think are necessary to get the business open, and it depends on the location. Some Subways are what they call standard standalone Subway shops, and others are real specialized shops that are maybe inside of a gas station, for example. So that's why there's such a huge range there. But the minimum, let's say, is about $117,000 that you'd invest. So let's see what kind of return you can get from Subway. Well, here's what my friend found out pretty fast, that the return on his investment was only about $30,000 to $45,000 in your first year as a Subway owner. Now, that may sound like a decent amount of money for anybody because within 3 or 4 years there, you would probably have your investment back. But he didn't realize that at the time. So, Eric, he eventually opened 5 Subways. So I guess he made enough money to keep investing and borrowing or whatever he needed to do that. But he finally got to where he could make his $100,000 a year.
Right. And you've got listed on here that anybody would need at least 4 to at least kind of capture that first, if you're looking to make 6 figures as an entrepreneur with Subway, if you just take those numbers, what we just showed right back here on the return, $30,000 to $45,000 a year, to have that kind of that magical number there, that 6-figure income, you'd have to at least open at least 4 of those restaurants just to get to that mark.
Yeah, because again, $30,000 a year times 4 is $120,000. You see, so that's where we said you'd be able to cover your investment of 117 minimum. You'd be able to cover that with 4 restaurants. So again, right, folks, we're not a franchise. There's a lot of differences between a licensing situation, which is what we have. We license our system and our marketing system and ideas and our cloud-based system to you. But we don't have territories. We don't have ongoing fees and royalties and that type of thing. Eric, I just read on that site also, by the way, for Subway, that they get 8% each month from each store as a franchise fee, plus 4.5% each month. This is on your gross revenue for advertising. So 12.5% every month goes back to Subway.
Wow. Well, again, that's a lot of money to consider whenever you've first probably trying to get started. However, we know that, and the reason we're using Subway here is because there are a lot of people that are very successful with Subway.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's a great, I say it's a great investment if you don't mind working 80 hours a week in each store with teenagers who can't even clean their bedroom.
But if you want to maybe match those same numbers, that's what we're going to look at right here. So with ABS here, your investment now, even though we've gone up just $1,000, is $26,990. You're still underneath $30,000. And as we kind of go through this with one doctor, you could be making anywhere from $30,000 to $39,000 a year, again, with just one doctor so far.
Yeah, and Eric, that is probably one of the lowest investments that are out there. In fact, one of the questions we actually get, I know you do, talking to folks yourself, Eric, is, why is your investment so low? Why is it under $30,000 by a few thousand if it's so good? So that's one of the reasons we wanted to address that today, is to show people that we not only make money on the initial licensing fee, but we also make money on our other services that are offered through you to the doctors. Now, that's not something you pay. It's not any percentage or something that you write a check for each month. That's from our technology partners that we're involved with. So we'll get a little bit more into that here in just a second.
You bet. And then success-wise, remember those numbers again that we mentioned earlier. I mean, if you want to go out there and go build 4 more Subway sandwiches, you'd have to spend another $117,000 on each of those. However, with ABS, one doctor, it's $26,000, but you don't pay another $26,000 to get another doctor.
All right. We're going to dive into how you get from one doctor a return on your investment of $30,000 to $39,000 a year. So we're going to break that down step by step.
You bet. So let's, we see some questions coming in, and we're going to get to those questions here in just a minute, but let's just focus in on the numbers, because it's very easy for us to identify this, because I think most people, you understand that when you go see the doctor, you're going to spend at least $100. That's the average of what gets reimbursed back to the doctor, even from Medicare, for just a simple 15, 20-minute visit with a doctor. So we also know that a doctor in a day's time will see a minimum of 25 patients. Patrick, especially right now with people not feeling well, whether it's strep throat or the flu, or whatever.
Yeah.
You can imagine the doctors are seeing more than 25 patients a day right now.
Hey, I don't know about you, Eric, but I've been sitting in a doctor's waiting room when there's 25 other people in that room, the time I'm there to see the doctor. So I guess maybe they have multiple providers there in that doctor's office. But the point is, it's not hard at all for a doctor to see. Well, you're only in the room with the doctor with 5 minutes.
Right.
A lot of that's done by his staff. So it's pretty simple for a doctor to see 25 patients a day.
So again, taking these numbers that are just basically known in the industry, that you've got $100 per patient that's the doctor's going to be taking, and they're seeing 25 patients a day. Well, that just equals out to $2,500 a day. And that's that money that the doctors are going. Now, before we go any further, Patrick, a lot of people are thinking, well, the doctors are pretty rich if they're making $2,500 a day. And for some of those that have been on our webinars before, know that we have a book called The Myth of the Rich Doctor. You want to kind of, before we get too far off of that, you want to kind of express about the $2,500 a day and really where all that money is going for in the first place.
Yeah, I have a copy of that right here. In fact, Eric, this is a Dr. Vicki Rackner that you mentioned earlier that I co-authored the other book with. This is her latest book, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. And Eric, she's getting huge crowds of doctors showing up all over the country as she travels around the country talking about this topic in this book, because doctors realize that they thought they were going to be rich, and they're not. They're not making near the kind of money that they thought they were going to, and that's probably because of all the changes in the healthcare law and so forth. But the point is that doctors they may be making $2,500 a day, Eric, but that doesn't mean they get to take that home to the bank.
Right. And if a doctor has just a decent sizable office with staff, $2,500 a day, you're going to find out that's really not a lot of money. But let's keep going on here. So again, if you got this doctor that's seeing 25 patients a day at $100, If they're open 20 days a month, again, that's average, that is generating about $50,000 a month in revenue. And Patrick, you and I both know $50,000 a month for a doctor that has a building, rent, staff,
insurance.
That's
Donuts.
kind of low.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a low figure. However, we don't want to blow out the numbers here. We want to be very, very conservative when we're talking about the numbers. So again, it just really gets down to $2,500 a day. Now, whenever you're doing the billing for the doctor, if you took that $2,500 a day, and again, the average of what a licensee of ours will charge, and really, Patrick, you write for the Billing and Coding magazine, you know these numbers as well as anybody, that about 6% is about average of what medical billing companies are actually charging.
Oh yeah, if anything, it's on the low end, because there are some that can charge 8-9%. Just depends on the doctor, the type of doctor, the volume, all kinds of things.
Yeah,
but so that's a very conservative number there.
So for one doctor, if you're doing the billing for this, you can pretty much those that are licensees here with ABS project that you can make $150 a day. Now, again, before I go any further, I don't think we've got it in this particular webinar today, but this $150 a day is on average taking you about 2 hours a day to actually do the entire processing for that doctor, Patrick.
Yes, time-wise, to do, what do we say, 25 patients, 25 claims that were submitted per day. You're right, Eric, that would not take a medical biller, somebody who's trained and certified, like our licensees are. That should not take them more than about 2 hours in 1 day's time. That's right.
Yeah. So if you've got $150 a day that you're making again, and you're open 5 days a week, well, that's $750 a week for you. And you take that $750 a week times 52 weeks that you're doing the work for the doctor. Well, there's your $39,000. So your investment here with us, Patrick, you can kind of take it here and then just see this gap here. We're at $26,990, so we're call it $27,000. You can see how quickly within that first year you can actually get your return on investment, because with one doctor, you're going to average out about $39,000 a year in revenue.
Yes, let's show that next slide, Eric, where you can actually see on our website, folks. Let's see, Eric, you want to point to where they find this? It's up there under income potential. Yeah.
Yeah, right there in income potential. So this is where our website is. Go to there and you click on income potential. And this is where you can put those numbers in yourself. And you put one doctor seeing 25 patients a day, open 5 days a week at 6% of $100. When you click on submit, that will get you that calculation there. And again, it kind of shows, again, your average monthly gross income, which is $33,250 a month, and your annual income still being at $39,000.
Yeah, so folks, we're showing you exactly how we got those figures. Maybe if you watch this recording back, you can kind of step through that step by step, or even from the handout that's over there in the handout section. But the point is, guys, we're only talking here, Eric, about one doctor. That's right. All. So, well, we'll show here in just a second that we do some market analysis in different areas of the country, and you'll come up with a lot of medical doctors. You just don't realize how many different medical specialties there are out there in your area. By the way, Eric, I want to address that first question if I could. It kind of ties in with what I just said there. The question is from Philip. He says, will your billing software system work on dentists and or chiropractors? Chiropractors, there's no problem with that because they are doctors and they are in the system the same way the doctors use codes, they do too. Dentists are a little bit different, Philip, but we do have the ability for you to do medical billing, dental billing. That's just not a part of what we initially train people on because, well, to be honest with you, the market is not near as large in the dental field as it is in the medical field. I tell people when you've signed up all the doctors in your area and there are no others, then you might go after the dental field. But it's a completely different type of billing too, and so it's a little more involved. But yes, we do have that cloud-based system built in as well.
And one more thing before we actually move off of this, folks. Again, kind of let this sink in completely. To make $40,000 a year, which for a lot of people, that's some of them that may be replacing their entire yearly what they're taking like a second job. This may be the wife may be working and she's making 40,000, and the husband may be working, he may be making 40,000 a year, and you've got 80,000 between you. But if one of you could work and get this at home, and you start working this from home, and then double that with one more doctor, then you've replaced both of your incomes, and now you're both working from home.
Right.
And I like to say it that way to kind of give people somewhat of a vision of where they could actually take this. And also, Patrick, to some degree, it kind of takes the fear factor out of going and building this business, because that's a pretty good carrot out there for someone to go make, $30,000, $40,000, $45,000 a year, and just do that with one doctor.
Well, this kind of goes back to that question I said that we get from time to time from people about, well, if you can make that kind of money on one doctor, why would y'all sell your licensing for, under $30,000? And folks, it goes back to the fact that the way we built our business is not only do we make money on that initial fee from you, but we also make a few pennies on each one of the claims that go through our system. Now, again, that's not paid by you. That's paid from our technology partners on the back end directly to us, ABS. Now, we tell you that up front because we want you to know that once you're in this business, we're partners. The more money you make, the more money we make. So we're going to do everything we can to support you in going out there and making as much money as you can.
You bet. I'm going to try to tackle both of these next two questions here, because one after you're asking, why would a doctor give you 6% when he could set up building in his own office? Well, it's a great question. You will discover why after you complete what's called a practice analysis with a doctor. You'll actually find out that the doctor's spending a lot more. Patrick, I didn't even get the chance to tell you this, but I've got a good friend of mine who's a neurologist, and he called me this Monday. He called me early Monday morning, and is starting to do a lot of telemedicine, which that's pretty cool in and of itself. But he was asking me about what the going rate was for medical billers, and I said 6%. He goes, I'm probably paying 50% on every claim that goes out right now because of the overhead of having to hire people and maintain that. Those were his words.
People don't realize the hidden costs that are in a doctor's office. They think 6%, a doctor's not going to give you 6%. Well, they're paying probably twice that or more, just like you just said, Eric, because they have staff, they have benefits that they pay the staff, vacation, healthcare, all those things. And then they have insurance there in the office. All of their hidden costs behind the scenes is costing them way more than 6%, folks, way more. Do your research on this and you'll find out we're not making those numbers up.
Right. And a rule you're asking, you're stating 4% is the prevailing charge. We see 4% out there, but I'll also say this in line with that. The doctors understand that if at 4%, it's what they're getting at 4%. A lot of doctors get charged 4% on a first-time submittal. Then if that doesn't go through on the first time, then there's another percentage of what's charged if that claim doesn't go through the first time. So those claims, those people that are in there at 4% start doubling what they're doing on the back end. So we see our licensees are at 6%, prevailing across the United States. Rarely do we even see anything go below 5.5%, Patrick. I've never seen anything even at 5% with any of our licensees.
No. And like I said, a lot of them are 7 and 8%. So whatever research that he has done there on that topic, folks, that's not true with our licensees. That may be true in a lot of other medical billing companies, but it's almost like a bait and switch. Yes. You could go in at 4% if you wanted to. You just wouldn't be able to offer all of the things that we offer to make sure that the doctor's rejection rate on those claims is way down below 2%. Now, we can assure the doctor that happens because that is our nationwide average. But in most doctors' offices, if they're doing it themselves or outsourcing it, it could be 10, 15, 20% rejection rate. Well, now how much did that 4% cost them?
That's correct. You bet. So again, for the amount of money that we're actually to recapture on there, that 6% is really a good deal. And we've actually proven that when we do these practice analysis. Today, we're not showing you a practice analysis. We have on other webinars, and you can see that on our marketing webinars that we've done. So if you want to go check that out, you can see that there. But let's keep going, Patrick. Now we're just going to kind of do a side-by-side on the comparison. We're going to get back to some of these questions that are here, but let's just kind of not get too far off here, because we're trying to do a side-by-side comparison of, the initial investment with Subway, the initial investment with ABS, the investment, let's just start right here. 117,000 versus 22.
Sorry, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, let me get that. How about that? There we go.
Yes.
There we go. Perfect. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Oh,
so
okay.
So you got the two comparisons there, Patrick.
Yeah. So again, the minimum you can invest to open a Subway, 117,000. With our license fee is a one-time lifetime fee, folks. That's it. One time, nothing monthly after that. There's nothing. You never pay ABS another penny. You are
Right.
your own owner of the business at that point for $26,990. Then, if we were comparing the actual incomes on an annual basis, we showed you that Subway owners can make $30,000 to $45,000. Our licensees can make $39,000 from one doctor doing the average that we just showed you there with our calculator. That would be like comparing four Subway restaurants to one of our doctors. You'd have to have four of those restaurants to make your $117,000 back. With ours, you've made it more than back with the $39,000.
You bet. So you can see here, just doing this simple math here, of just doing this comparison on a return on investment of what you would be doing with one versus another. Now, again, we're not just cherry picking Subway. We just use Subway because it's very well known.
Yeah.
Go do this with any other business opportunity. Look at their numbers. You know now what the ABS numbers are. Do that with other business opportunities or other franchises that you might be working with, and just do the same comparisons. Find out what the investment is. What can you get back in 1 year with either one client, or how many clients is it going to take you to get to that number? That's where you're going to have to look at there. So we just want to show this comparison here that as we kind of go through this. There's, again, you may mention there, again, that four restaurants, you would have to have four restaurants to get at least the first investment, which is 117,000.
Yeah, because if you were making the minimum of what they say a Subway owner could make, 30,000 a year, wouldn't you have to have four of those to get to 120,000? So we're just kind of rounding that number there, 120. With ours, one doctor can return your $27,000 investment. I rounded ours up $10 there too.
Yeah. But what makes it interesting here is if you wanted to go to 10 restaurants. Now remember, you have to pay that fee to open up those. But again, we're looking at the return on those. But if you're at 10 restaurants, you could be at $300,000 fairly easily.
Right.
But again, with 10 doctors with us, if it's $39,000 a year, you'd be very, very close to being at $390,000 a year with 10 doctors. And Patrick, we know that we have some of our licensees that are actually at that number.
Yes, we have licensees, folks, that are making way more than that. Some of those are making monthly six-figure revenue. So it just depends, again, on how many doctors you work with and how many you want to work with. Maybe you're happy if you have four or five, but there's some people that want to build this business big, and there are no limits.
Yes, no limits. But again, look, you're looking at the investment there, and that's what we were just driving down to. Again, if you open up those 10 restaurants, you're at $1.1 million, nearly $1.2 million in investment. And again, You're at $26,990 or $27,000. Again, like Patrick said, there are no franchise fees. There's no royalty fees. There's no, you have to pay another $27,000 to get another doctor. That's what we're just showing you here in this one comparison.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, before we get to the next one, let me just address Barbara's question here. She's saying, can the percentage, say the first year, be 5.5% in order to gain a doctor's business? Folks, we're using that 6% because we know that that's what the average of our licensees are getting out there, but it doesn't mean that you have to charge that. You can charge more, you can charge less. It just depends on your situation. Now, the nice thing is that for each one of your doctors that you do the practice analysis for, that we teach you how to do that, you can come back to us and say, well, now look, based on what the numbers they gave us, what should I be charging? And we can give you a feel for that because we've been doing this for 24 years.
You bet. And Arthur, you made another comment. Doctors will save by hiring billing staff rather than outsourcing it. And Arthur, I can get with you on that because I can actually show you the document of a a practice analysis showing that to be completely opposite. You can see after you take all the cost factors of an employee, along with all the cost factors that it takes for the doctor to actually own the software, and then take in consideration the rejection rates that are happening there, you'll find out that sometimes it's 2 times the amount of what the doctor pays to have someone in their office. Patrick, it's been a long time since you have talked about it this way, but whenever a doctor has a billing clerk in their office, it's usually not just one person, it's usually a couple of people. But really, how we've identified that, it's almost like the doctor running 2 separate businesses, a billing system or a billing service and a practice. And those are basically 2. I guess the doctor could add another business service to them, and that would be their accounting. So I guess they'd have to hire an accountant also. So if you think about it, it's like another separate type of business.
Well,
out of the doctor's office, and
every licensee that we've talked to have verified with us that they agree that doctors are the worst business people in the world. They were not trained to be a business person. They were trained to take care of human beings and keep them well and give them what they need to get well. So doctors just don't realize. If you just ask a doctor, Eric, off the cuff, if you just ask your own doctor, how much do you think it costs you for every claim that you process in your office here, every insurance claim, what does it cost you? He would probably just say, I don't know, $1 or $2. Because they have no clue as to what it really does cost. Folks, that's why we teach you to do the practice analysis. And you can do that for the doctor at no cost. Come back to them with a report that shows them, here's what you're really spending, and here's what you would pay at 6%, let's say. And when they compare the two, folks, sometimes we've cut their costs in half.
Right.
So
there was actually a study.
Do your due diligence. Don't assume that your brother-in-law knows what he's talking about. He doesn't.
You bet. There was a magazine article in the U.S. And News World Report. I can't remember which one it is, but we've showcased it on 1 or 2 webinars where there was a doctor that actually did that analysis with his own staff, and it came out to be about $20 a claim. Right. That he was having to pay to get a claim out the door and actually get paid.
Yeah, and if an average claim is, like we said, about $100 that the doctor collects on a visit, at 6%, he's only paying you $6. Right. So, no, it's not true. It's just absolutely misinformation if you think that it's cheaper for a doctor to do the billing inside their own staff. Now, one way you can prove that, don't just take Eric and I's word about anything. We'll let you talk to some of our existing licensees. You can ask them what they're charging the doctor, and you'll see that it's going to be 6% or more. Across the nation from all of our licensees. And they'll tell you that the doctors have told them that, yes, you've saved me money. You've actually saved me money by me outsourcing. Ask any doctor that's outsourcing to any medical biller, and they'll probably tell you, yes, I'm definitely saving money. That I'd never go back to doing it myself in my own office with my own staff. I'm going to be interviewing a doctor next week that will tell you that himself after being in practice for 20 years.
I was going to say we could up that one even with our webinar that we're going to be doing next week with Dr. Rackner. Folks, if you're on this one today, sign up for that one. Feel free to ask that question to Dr. Vicki Rackner because she is literally working with doctors all over the country on the topics that we're talking about. So let's kind of focus back in here real quickly, and we're going to talk to you what you get for your investment because, Patrick, a lot of people still ask, what do I get for my $26,990, for the $27,000? What am I getting? I mean, I get that I have to pay something, and then I'm paying this. What am I getting? Talk about this integrated cloud-based system that they're actually going to get right off the bat.
I will be glad to as soon as I see that slide.
You got it right there.
Okay, now here's what we mean by integrated cloud-based system, folks. Starting down in the bottom right-hand corner, you see that patient portal? We actually have a portal that the patients of a doctor can log into and see all of their medical history. I mean, all of their prescriptions, every visit, all the notes from the doctor, it's all right there online. It's the most fantastic thing you've ever seen. And that ties directly into our system, of course, so that the doctor, using the EMRX system, the electronic medical records that you see in the upper right-hand corner, that ties in with that exactly, so the doctor can actually see everything that the patient portal has in it on his iPad when he's actually visiting with the patient. Then, of course, all that the doctor does on his iPad with EMRX goes into the iClaim system in the upper left-hand corner. That's what you are using behind the scenes to actually do the billing and submitting of the claims. And then, of course, we have one other factor here that's all built into this that's kind of unusual. We'll talk about it on, I think, the next slide or two, the clearinghouse.
You bet. So let's kind of take a look at this. And folks, I tell you, one of the best things that I can encourage you to do is whenever you got a moment and some time that you can work with the person that actually invited you to be at the webinar today, ask them to do a demonstration of the software, because this is where we can break it down, because this is the key component of why this business and where the money savings can actually come into play for the doctor. But when you have an entire system, a patient portal, the electronic medical records, the billing system, which is the iClaim system, and the clearinghouse all together, this is where you can kind of start getting the picture that when a claim finally does get submitted out of our system, and it's the only one like that, these claims are being submitted directly to the insurance company. Think about that. We've taken the third party between billing system and the insurance companies, which is the clearinghouse, and we've integrated it into our billing system. And like I've talked to so many people, they said, oh, well, it's like you've taken out the middleman. We really have. And that way we're able to submit claims, but not only just submit claims, we're actually able to communicate with the insurance companies to even to see if that patient is eligible with that particular insurance company before the claim is ever submitted. So we can reduce rejected claims down, like what Patrick said, less than 2%, and get these doctors paid what they should be paying, what they were, almost 100%.
Yes. I mean, again, our rejection rate's less than 2%. So you could say that we're collecting at least 98% of all the money that's due to the doctor. And some of those rejections are just things that had nothing to do with our system, of course, or our clearinghouse. Those were things that were human errors that can be corrected, some of them, and others are just things that insurance company was not covering what they said they were going to cover. But the point is, that's why we have our own clearinghouse, to make sure that we're in control of that system. That's not a third party that we send the claims out to.
Yeah, you bet. So another thing that you're getting, again, with this entire system is all the things that you see here. There's mobile charting. Obviously, it's affordable. You can kind of just go back and forth. We're increasing the doctor's revenue. It's very customizable. All of the customer service is U.S. based. You know, it's not being outsourced to anywhere else in the world. Our customer service is customer U.S. based. It's a web-based connection. Patrick, before we go any further, you want to talk really quickly why we integrated to web-based versus server-based when we did about 7 years ago.
Well, one of the reasons was because of the rules and regulations of the government, HIPAA, which is in charge of the patient, protection of the patient data. If you think about it, folks, if you're running software that's on your hard disk, on your physical hard disk there in your office, where you're working from home, that data is open for not only destruction by somebody accidentally, or your computer hard disk crashes, but theft. Somebody could steal your computer. Now they have all that data from the doctor's patients. When it's a cloud-based system, you're actually logging into a website online, doing all the billing online, and then logging out. And that data is safe on our secure servers. We have redundant servers in several parts of the country, so that if one of them went down, the other one just immediately takes it back up again, and you never know it. So, and those are backed up nightly, even all the servers. So it's very safe. It has been approved by HIPAA that it is the safe way to do medical billing, and it's the future, Eric. We've seen articles and have presented those in some other webinars that this is the future, no doubt.
You bet. And it makes it so much easier. I mean, there's nothing you have to load on those doctors' computers and or maintain, as Patrick had said.
Right.
All that's behind the scenes. So again, it's been around since '98. We're not going anywhere. We've been around even longer than that for just on the billing side. But let's kind of break this down again. What you're getting for your $26,990, the $27,000, and that is a billing system that is also what's called a practice management system. And I believe somewhere in here, if I can look through, I think Tony, you know, so the doctor's office must convert to your input system. What happens to their old records? Well, we can move those records from their old system in here. And so, yes, Tony, it does gives the doctor opportunity to, you got to go back. We don't want the doctor to keep their old system, because if we do that, then we eliminate, I'm going to show this screen right up here. Let me see if I can go right there. You get this clearinghouse outside of the system. That's what the doctors are dealing with right now. That's their problem. Their clearinghouse sits outside of their billing system and the practice management system. Bringing that in here brings a new dimension to the table, and that is where you're able to go from collecting only 70 to 75% of the doctor's money to 98% of the money. And Patrick, that's where doctors, they're not afraid to switch their software systems when you can start collecting like that.
No, and that kind of ties in with Sepida's question. He says, do doctors have to pay to switch to the new system? Well, there is a setup fee that we suggest that licensees charge. Now, some of them waive that and don't charge that. But again, there is a charge for the doctor getting started on the system. Now, there's also a monthly fee that the doctor pays to access the system, because we're going to give him and his staff full access to the system as well. But again, sometimes licensees roll that into the percentage that they charge doctors. That's why some of them charge 7% and not 6%, because that extra 1% covers all those monthly fees. Now, you can get more detail on that in some of the other webinars we've done, or like Eric said, get back with the person who invited you to this webinar and ask them real specific questions about that.
You bet. And again, just talking about what you're getting solid, a solid software that has been approved by, like this one you can see here, by the Podiatrics of American Podiatrics Medical Association, the APMA. It's been listed under medical economics as one of the best EHRs out there. The osteopathic group, their association has verified this is the type of system that they like to have. So you're getting all of this that you're not having to go out there and look for. Plus, we're going to hopefully take the rest of this 15 minutes that we have left, Patrick, and kind of go through each of the other services, and then also just let people know that we're always working on new services to add here, that again, there's no additional fees once you become a licensee.
Right. These are ancillary services, folks, that you can offer if you wish. You don't have to. They're all a part of our package, though. For example, this one called Quick Collect is built into our system that actually will go and collect the money that the patients owe. Some patients are not paying their bills like they should be. This is a great way to go after that money. Again, you're not a collection agency. This is all done automatically online through a web-based system, but it collects sometimes up to 90% of all the money that's due the doctors from their patients. That's just one of the services that you can offer, and one that we make a few pennies on each one of those transactions. Again, I'm just emphasizing that we have ongoing revenue and don't have to charge you anything for ongoing support.
I'm going to let you kind of just go through all of these, Patrick. Let's talk about AutoCard.
AutoCard is a wonderful follow-up system for you in contacting the doctors. You can put them on an automatic card that's printed in full color and mailed to the doctor once a month, automatically, without you even thinking about it. It's a fantastic follow-up system, but you can also offer it to the doctors. The doctors can actually use this to build their practice. Yes, we help the doctor with actually marketing to new patients and existing patients through AutoCard. Again, you make money on all the transactions that go through that as well.
Absolutely. And this AutoCard could be used for your own drip marketing or for your own warm markets that you can be working with, because we actually have campaigns built in there already to help you again with yours. I mean, we know licensees, Patrick, that's one of the ways in which they have actually marketed, and then they get to tell the doctor, well, how I'm marketed to you, we can put you and your staff and what you can do with your own patients. We can model that same thing there, and also get more patients there in the doctor's office. Choice pay. I mean, what are they? Copays, deductibles are going through the roof. Patients can't pay for all those at one time. Choice pay allows that to take over.
Yeah, that's built into our system. Now, again, folks, I know we're going through a lot here in this webinar. You'd have to watch some of our previous webinars where we go into detail, but you actually can give access to the doctor and their staff because we have a built-in online cloud-based scheduling system that's the best that's out there. They can utilize that. Well, they can also utilize this to put the patients on a choice pay system, which allows the patient to pay out their balance and automatically have it deducted from their credit card or their checking account. So it's a fantastic way to get patients paying just a little bit, whatever they decide they can afford each month to pay off their balances. And it collects thousands of dollars for doctors that they would never collect otherwise.
Yeah, and so folks, if you'll see this, we've pulled not only just the billing and the EMR side, but we've pulled in all of these other services, again, to help assist the doctors. Now, a lot of people, Patrick, when they first get in here, they want to know, what about this whole thing about coding? And do I have to learn coding? Let's talk about, I think, this one and the other service that we're going to show here that has to do with coding, and really how this really separates a billing company than a billing company and like a coding company.
Yeah, well, let me address this whole issue of coding. First of all, folks, you do not have to take a coding course. You do not have to know anything about those codes because our system, being cloud-based, is always up to date with the accurate latest codes from the government. Right. And so you never have to worry about that. In fact, the doctor is going to see those codes as he visits with the patient. It's built right into our system as they're, again, using their iPad with the electronic medical records. They push the buttons that say, here, this patient has a sore throat. And all of a sudden, our system suggests the codes that the doctor could submit for that. Right. It's a fantastic way to never have to worry about the coding. And this audit guard protects the doctor from audits from Medicare coming in and looking and saying, oh, you over-coded for this one, so we're going to have to fine you $10,000 for that. This protects them from that. Along with the next service called CodeWrite, which means that we have certified medical coders on staff ready to help you with any needs that you have and the doctor has on the coding side. We can review the doctor's current codes and suggest what he could be billing for, and sometimes that increases his revenue by up to 30%.
Right. And then iDocs Now. Now, iDocs Now is an online place where the doctor can take all of those charts that they have. Now, this is not the same as electronic medical records, but you know that the doctors they have charts that they want to convert and they want to put it somewhere. They have to, even if the doctor is switching from what they're doing currently to an EMR system, they still have to keep those physical records somewhere. And instead of that just being, cluttered in that doctor's office or having to pay storage somewhere off site, this can all be done online. And as Patrick can share with you here real quickly, this is how we take care of all of our paperwork. Nothing that we have there in our office is actually no filing cabinets, so we could say.
That's right. If you come and visit us at our home office, you'll find that no filing cabinets because every piece of paper is scanned into the iDocs Now system. And I can access that from my iPhone anytime, any document that we have. It's just a fantastic system. Okay, Eric, we're running low on time here. We better move on.
Yeah, we're almost done with all the slides here. And when we have Compliancy Guard. Now, Compliancy Guard is one that, again, if we go to the doctor's office, there's open charts. This kind of helps protect them from that, from any violations that they would have to do with HIPAA. So imagine you have all of these different suites of services that you can be able to serve there. So plus everything that we've shown you, each one has their own marketing piece.
Right. And as you can see, folks, we've spent a lot of money professionally designing marketing materials for you. We have these flyers, of course, for each one of the services we just went through, but we also have that auto card system that has all the postcards and greeting cards already pre-designed. You don't have to create anything. We've done all that for you and can give that to you instantly once you sign up for that. I think the next slide shows the back side of those cards. These are just postcards, but you can also create, and we have already created greeting cards that open up as well. So any way you want to market, we've got that already figured out, guys. Believe me, we spend a lot of time and money on this stuff.
And we're adding to, we've got several different templates of websites that you can choose from once you're a licensee, that you can customize with different colors. But the text, I think that's what stops just about everybody building their own website, is I don't know what to put in my website. Right. We have all of that written out there for you. So it's just more of a converting with your name and everything else that goes along with that. But again, what do you get from ABS? Patrick, this is going to be one of the biggest supporting mechanisms that we have here for our licensees, whether new or old.
Eric, I've always said that we should be charging for these demos, but here's what it means, folks. You can set up a demo. Sometimes the doctors want to see the technology behind what you're about to do for them, right? And they want to see that you have something that's leading edge. So you can set up a demo online in our support site for that doctor to see a live demo. I mean, literally, we get on live, just like we're here on this webinar live today. We do that through GoToMeeting. They can see the screen, we can see the screen, and we show them exactly what the system is all about. Now, in the illustration here, you see the doctor there and his staff at the bottom. On the upper side, you see our licensees. Now, sometimes the licensees will actually go to the doctor's office and be there with them. But the point is, they're seeing exactly what the doctor's seeing. They're hearing the questions the doctor asks, and they're hearing us answer the questions. So, folks, we're closing, Eric, somewhere around 50%, right, of all these demos. The doctors move forward with our licensees. So, folks, this alone is worth thousands of dollars. Why? Because we don't charge you a dime for these demos. Never. You can do it 5 a day if you wanted to. We've got plenty of staff to handle these. And every one of these that you're doing is going to mean more business for you. So your job is just to help the doctor realize that by looking at the demo, we can give them references of other doctors, even in their specialty, that they can call up. There's lots of benefits to the doctor for actually watching the demo, and then we answer all the questions. All you've got to be is ready to have the paperwork ready to fill out.
I did one just a week and a half ago, just like that. It was exactly how we're talking about. But here's where you can go to, on our marketing demos. It's simply just, you're going to request a demo. You fill in all that information. You do that on our licensee support site, which you can see right here. This will get you to our licensee support site. Patrick, we have ongoing training as well. I mean, although that we have a live training class that I know that we talk about quite often, but we really rarely talk about, the continual education that we're actually giving our licensees on a weekly basis.
Eric, we're actually doing a webinar day after tomorrow, on Friday of this week, with Dr. Vicki Ragnar, by the way. Now, this one is for our licensees. This is not one that you folks who are on the webinar today can attend. You have to be one of our licensees, but we do those on Fridays for our licensees. And Eric, we do those just about every week now. And that means that during the year, you're going to have another 50 or so sessions that are about an hour long. So you've got ongoing training as well. Again, no charge for that ever, folks. That's a part of your lifetime licensing fee.
Now, let's talk real quickly, because we're getting up to the top of the hour here. Once you take the rest of this time, let's talk about the New Thriving Medical Practice book that was written by you and Dr. Ragnar, but how it is special for our licensees.
Yeah, I actually have a copy right here. I'll zoom it in here so maybe you can see that in the camera there. You see at the bottom there, and you can see it in the illustration on the slide too. That is the name of a fake person, but we can put your name right there as having written the introduction. Now you'll see that here on this slide. That's at least the last page of the introduction. We're showing you that so you can see that your name is on the inside title page. And it's also, your contact information is there at the end of the forward. It's a 2-page forward that we've written. And again, you don't have to write the forward. We just put your name and contact information. That gives you the credibility that you can have, folks, to get started marketing to doctors, because now your name is right here on the same cover of the book written by a doctor. There's just huge credibility building with that, and trust. And we let you buy these books from us, by the way, at our printing cost, which is about $4. On Amazon, this book is $24.95 if a doctor wanted to buy it themselves. You give it to them as a gift, and it just opens all kinds of doors. Okay.
And that's why I went ahead and put this slide up there, because you're talking about credibility. With being backed by ABS in the 24 years that we've been around, we can position you of having instant credibility by us helping you do these demos, by the books that you're talking about. And so that's what people are wanting to know is, how can I build that type of credibility? And lastly, Patrick, let's do this real quickly. People want to know what their territory looks like. Well, folks, here is your territory. You could live in California and do billing for doctors in Florida if you want to. But one of the new
or Alaska or anywhere in the United States.
One of the things that you've just launched here with our support is the potential for market analysis. And you want to talk real quickly about this, and I'll get our last few slides ready to go here.
Yeah, so folks, we have a database with all of the physicians in the entire United States. What we can do for you, and you have to ask a person who sent you to this webinar to do a market analysis. We can take your area code or your county, and we can actually look up the number of doctors in the categories that you can actually market to. Look at all these different specialties that are listed here. We can give you an actual number of the doctors that are in your area, and I think this particular one was I don't know, somewhere out west. But anyway, look at the grand total at the bottom there, 17,557. That is one county,
one county
on the West Coast. Yep. So anyway, the market analysis is for your benefit to help you realize how big this market is. Folks, as you saw from the numbers earlier, you don't need but one or two or a handful of doctors, let's say, and you can make a lot more than you've invested in the business, but you'll never sign up 17,557.
Right. Nobody will. All right, last couple of things that you do get from us, and then we'll be wrapping this up. And so just hang on with us. We're going just a little bit over time here, but you get our live training. That live training workshop is 5 days of live training. It's not an online training. You will actually have hands-on, workable workshop type of activities here to help you get to this position. And that is one of the biggest things that you get here is to become a certified medical revenue manager.
Right. Yeah, the Medical Revenue Management Association of America is the organization that certifies our licensees at the end of our lifetime training. And folks, that's all you need to do medical billing in all 50 states.
You bet. All right. So those that do want to attend our training, and you've purchased and you've filled out your purchase agreement, Patrick, talk about the money back guarantee, and then we'll talk real quickly about when our next training is, and then close out with our webinar that we're going to be having next week.
Well, my staff told me that I was crazy when I came up with this. I said, look, folks, if we have what we say we have, people will see that when they come to our live training workshop. It'll be obvious to them. So let's just offer a money back guarantee. At the end of the week, if for some reason, any reason at all, people don't like what they saw during the week, we give them every penny back. And there were some people passing out in my meeting when I brought that up, Eric, because they said, well, won't we lose money? Won't they be able to steal what we have? I said, look, it doesn't matter, folks. Again, if a company has what they say they have, people will see it, especially during a 40-hour week. And so you'll see and you'll know whether this is for you or not. And